Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. It doesn't seem that long that we were here the last time, walking you through how to apply, and it's now time we're about to go in for the acceptance period. My name is Ellen Truskowski. I'm the Director of Student Assignment, and I'm joined tonight by
Kim V., Assistant Principal and Magnet Coordinator at Johns Hopkins Middle School.
So just like a couple weeks ago, we walked you through how to apply. We're going to walk you through how to accept and what to know at that time. So we're going to go ahead and go over a couple little things to know, review some questions that we typically get every year to try to ease your fears or tensions and answer any questions at the end. Feel free to drop in a comment or questions in the chat, and we will address those at the end of our presentation. So we want you to start and get ready by being prepared. So if you have your email confirmation or you printed that screen that kind of gave you the either student ID or the application ID, but have that handy, you can always enter your child's name and date of birth, but sometimes either the student ID or the application ID is a little bit easier. With that. And you want to make sure that you know your username and password. If you do not, no worries. You just have to bring a valid photo ID to any school, and they can go ahead and reissue you a new username or reset your password. The same spot where you made the application is where you're going to go in to check for the acceptance. So you're going to reservation.pcsb.org. And you're going to look for the same thing at District Application Program tab. It's usually the top one on that. You click on that, and it'll get you to there. I wanted to go over a couple things of what to know so you know what to expect when it's time. Once you sign in, you'll get it, and Ms. V is going to walk you through the actual application acceptance period so you can see what it looks like, but you're going to get to a results screen. And I wanted to explain what the results screen was about so that you understood. In the example above, I just put generic program 1. You would have the programs that you applied for. And if you can see, you have several different columns. There is an accept column. This is what you're going to click if you choose to accept any of the programs if you were invited. There's an invited column. And then there's a wait list. And I want to emphasize this, and you're going to hear me emphasize this several times tonight. This number is subject to change, and I'll explain why in a little bit. And then there might be an ineligible. So if you were applying for one of those programs that have academic criteria or entrance criteria, maybe it's a EP for the gifted centers, maybe it is you did an audition. If there was entrance criteria and you didn't meet that, or you had 10 or more referrals from January 2021 to December 2021, you might be made ineligible. If you are ineligible, you're going to see a check mark there. If you are invited, on that column where it said invite, you're going to see a check mark. That'll let you know that you're being invited to that program. To accept it, you just go into that accept column and you click the accept box. If you wish to decline an offer, you do not need to do anything. You can sign out at that point and you're finished. You can only accept one program. The reason why we're emphasizing this is sometimes you might get multiple program offers. You can accept one. If you accept a program, you are taken off the other wait list. So that's very important to know. If you say yes to one and you are on the wait list for 3 others, you will come off those other wait lists. The only exception is the Center for Gifted Studies. You can go in and change your mind as many times as you want up until 5 p.m. of the last day. So that wait list number that I referred to earlier on the results screen, you might see that this says subject to change, and there's a reason for that. If you were found eligible and all the seats were filled before your randomized number was reached, you will get a temporary wait list number. So that wait list number will be in that column. Sometimes we have students who do not accept, so at the end of the acceptance period, your number might go up. Sometimes we have siblings who might have gotten an offer and the other one didn't, and there's something called a newly invited sibling priority, which we'll review in a second, which may also impact the number, and your number might go down. So there's a week after for newly invited sibling priorities, as well as the acceptance if you had or appealing a decision where the numbers may change. To get your final waitlist number, you can reach out to the school directly starting Wednesday, March 23rd. And as seats become available, they will call a numerical order from the wait list. I briefly spoke about the ineligibility. So there are ways that you might be ineligible. One is that you did not meet that entrance criteria. Or the other is if you're in secondary and have 10 or more referrals in 2021 and or assessor at any time. If you want more specific information on why you're ineligible, just reach out to the coordinator at that specific program and they can give you some more information. Want to go over that newly invited sibling priority and if you wanted to appeal the ineligibility. So newly invited sibling, if you have multiple siblings who, and this is important as well, you put number 1 ranked for the same program. So if you did number 1 for the program on one child and 2 for another and 3 for the third, you will not get a newly invited sibling priority. They all have to be that number 1 ranked for the same program. The week after the acceptance period, so between Monday, February 21st, and Friday, February 25th, you can reach out to the school and say that you wish to claim the newly invited sibling priority. What this will do is after the school verifies that they are indeed siblings, it'll raise the number towards the top of the wait list. So that wait list number that's subject to change would now go down 1 or 2 or however many newly invited siblings there are. That's why we give that time, and you have until March 23rd where all those waitlist numbers will play out. If you are applying for a high school ACE or IB program, or maybe you are applying for a Center for Gifted Studies and you got an ineligibility, or maybe it was a behavior, you do have an opportunity to appeal that. So you just reach out to the DAP coordinator at that school, and the information is going to be on the screen and on your printout, and you would ask for an appeal. Make sure you're able to state your case. So maybe they had good grades, or maybe there's a new history, or maybe some of that the assessor was like in 2nd grade. Whatever your reason is or your support for your case, you want to have available, because the school is going to ask you to present or give you reasons why you would like to appeal that decision. Those appeals may also impact that wait list number. And I know in our beginning when we did the how to apply, I talked about the proximity priority. I just want to hit upon it one more time, because this is probably the number 1 reason people call us. So I'm going to explain how the proximity priority works one more time and hopefully be able to answer those questions. So the proximity priority is applied to the remaining seats after the sibling, the professional courtesy, and if there's a feeder pattern, the feeder pattern priorities are. Once those are given, then they will do a certain percentage of the remaining seats go to proximity. We use something called the Manhattan distance formula, and it's right there. It will take one distance and subtract it from the other. So we use the Pinellas County Tax Appraiser's Property Atlas. It's the same resource that 911 uses. We take the latitude and longitude of those different for each address and then enter that for your home address with the schools. That distance is going to give you a Manhattan distance proximity to the school. Elementary and middle schools offer 20% of the remaining seats to proximity. We do have a couple exceptions, and those are East Lake Middle School, Tarpon Springs Fundamental, Midtown Academy. All of these schools have a 50% proximity priority. High school programs offer 25 of their seats. So what does this look like? We're going to take a random number and say that there were 100 seats available at a middle school, and the middle school has 20% proximity. So of those, 25 are feeder pattern priorities, 7 sibling, and 3 staff priorities, which would leave us with 65 remaining seats. 20% of those seats are going to go to the smallest Manhattan distance formula values. So 20% of 65 is 13. So 13 of those remaining seats will go to proximity priority. And I want to also make sure that you know this is only for the entry grade level. So proximity priority only applies for kindergarten, 6th grade, and 9th grade. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Kim V, and we're going to take you through so you can actually see what you will look for on February 7th through the 18th.
All right, guys, this is the time we have been waiting for. Parents, at this time, I would like you to make sure that you pull out your cell phone or your calendar that you have if you use a paper copy, and I want you to set a reminder in your phone for when the acceptance period begins, because you do not want to miss this. Also, parents, a reminder, you do need to have your parent username and password to log into the system to be able to see your offered seats and to accept a seat. So as Ellen mentioned earlier, if you cannot find that special spot and you did not save it and you need a parent username or password or your password reset, please make sure that you go to the nearest school so you can get that taken care of. All right, so we're going to go to the, where's the site? You're going to go to the reservation.pcsb.org, the same place you went to apply. And you're going to use your parent name and password and log in. I'm selecting the option that says I applied for programs for next school year and I'm wanting to view or accept my invitation. Again, I'm going to put in my kid's name. And don't stress, parents, if you come across a little boo-boo, it's okay. It will all work out.
And this is a good point to point out as she's here. Sometimes if you were in a rush when you're applying and you put the wrong date in and you enter your child's name, or if you did it on the phone, sometimes the text doesn't always translate into our SRS system correctly. And so if you're not finding a child, you can always reach out to Student Assignment and we can help look up or find that application. And if it's a spelling error or a date of birth, we can work with our tech department to get that fixed for you.
All right, so I searched for my kiddo using her name and date of birth, and then I'm confirming that this is my child, and then after that you're going to see the results. So we're going to see our invites here, and you can see that I applied for multiple programs, but I only got invited for 2. And you see you're invited here, and they have red check marks. I was invited to Center for Gifted Studies at Johns Hopkins and also invited to the Visual Arts at Johns Hopkins as well. And then you can see in the wait list column that currently I am number 18 on the wait list, but parents, remember, this is subject to change. You can call to get your accurate wait list number on March 23rd. Parents, this is very, very important. If I do not accept a seat, nothing's going to happen as far as your application, meaning you're not going to get the seat you want, okay? You have to make sure you're accepting a seat. If you do not want any of the seats you were offered, you can leave it alone. You're not going to be assigned any school unless you're accepting a seat. So out of the 2 choices that I've been offered, I am going to pick the Center for Gifted Studies at Johns Hopkins Middle. You have to go all the way down, parents. Got to finish the whole process. Again, this is giving me an opportunity to confirm that this is the program I've accepted. And you have to check this box to confirm again that you're accepting the invitation, and you must push submit. I really encourage you parents to print this out. You can also type in your email address and it will email you a confirmation of your acceptance. Very, very important. And then you're waiting, parents, for it to complete. You've got to wait the whole thing until you get to the end where it says you've successfully completed the district program application and you've accepted your seat. Parents, you have the entire time during the acceptance period to go back if you or your child changes your mind on the program you selected. And you would just follow the same steps. But please make sure that if you go back in and make any changes, you do have to continue to the very end to what you see right now. Okay.
There is a brief survey, so if you click on that link, it'll take you to a brief survey where we're just asking some questions, kind of get your take on what programs you'd like us to see offer, and some growth questions and where you saw us to help us better market our efforts in future years. So it probably will take maybe 5 minutes tops, but we would love to hear your input and feedback. So it's pretty quick. It's a little easier process on the acceptance end. You just go in. Once again, if you do not take any action, it's going to leave you on whatever wait list you're on, or it'll be considered a decline. So when you get to that results screen, if you're invited and you accept, it's going to remove you from all other wait lists. The only program it'll keep you on is the Center for Gifted Studies, and we frequently will see that aspect confusing families a little bit. So when you accept, you come off all other wait lists. So we're just going to go over a couple important dates coming up, just so you have them handy, and then we're going to open up to any Q&A questions that you might have. So the acceptance period will open at 12:01 a.m. And once again, you do not need to stay up this late. You can accept any time. And it closes at 5 p.m. on February 18th. There's 2 full weeks that it's open, so February 7th through the 18th, and by 5 p.m. on the 18th. My office will be open so that if any parents are having trouble at that last minute, we'll be able to assist. The newly invited sibling week, or that appeals week, is February 21st through the end of the school day on February 25th. It's the only time you can claim a newly invited sibling request. The late application period, so maybe you didn't get into one of your choices and you'd like to apply for a different one. The late application period will open on March 21st. And then wait list numbers will become available on March 23rd. So you can call the school directly and find out what that wait list number is. And that'll give us time, so any of the newly invited siblings or any appeals will be taken into account, and that'll give you a better idea of what that wait list number is going to be going into when they start to call off the wait list. We're now going to open it up to any questions that you may have. If you hear a question coming in or see one that makes you think of something else, once again, please jot it down in the chat box and we will get to it shortly.
Hi Ellen, hi Kim. We have a few questions for you tonight. The first one is, if my child does not get into a DAP, when can I apply for an SAR?
Good question. So the SAR period, and SAR stands for Special Assignment Request. A Special Assignment Request would allow you to attend a non-zone school. So if I work closer to Mildred Helms and I live down by Sawgrass Lakes, I can apply for an SAR, and if accepted, it's a lottery process as well, my child can then go to Mildred Helms. That application period will open up April 1st through the 15th. And I want to add on to that, because if you are a student who's coming in new to kindergarten, so you weren't with one of our VPK or pre-K programs, you're going to have to enroll at your zone school before you can make an SAR. And we're going to do another Facebook Live event to kind of walk everybody through the SAR process and answer any questions at that time. But to apply for an SAR, if you're new to the county, you do need to be registered in one or enrolled in one of our schools to be able to make that application. But once again, April 1st through the 15th is the initial SAR application period.
Can you explain why you're not removed from Center for Gifted Studies wait lists when you accept an invitation?
So with the Center for Gifted Studies, it's a full-time gifted program. Those services are not offered at other schools. So it would almost be as if we were denying access to a potential service. So we leave everybody on that wait list because that's not a service that we offer at other schools. Every school does have gifted services, but not in that full-time model. So we keep people on the Center for Gifted Studies to make sure that we are meeting needs if it's there.
Will I be notified if we are accepted into a DAP program?
So your notification is partly tonight, and you will get an email, you will get a couple phone calls. You may also be reached out directly from the school, but we will start calling Sunday to remind you that it opens on Monday. I have a reminder halfway through, and then you'll get another reminder the night before with that. And as I said, some schools may be reaching out as well.
How do I decline an offer?
I'll take that one.
You don't need to do anything. So if you do not want to accept a program that was offered to you, you're not going to be checking any of the boxes. You're only checking a box to accept your seat.
Do I stay on the wait list for other programs when I accept an offer?
No. Once you accept, you're considered to be in that program. If you're on a wait list, our system looks at it as two places in once. Since you cannot obviously attend two programs at once you accept, you are removed from all other wait lists.
Is there anyone who can help me calculate my odds or give me advice on which program to select?
You're going to select Johns Hopkins Middle School if you're applying for middle schools, just saying. Sorry.
So waitlist numbers get a little bit tricky because we don't know who's going to leave. Once a program's filled and is calling off the wait list, the only time seats open up is if the wait list, wait list. So if the number opens up, they'll call from that. We don't know how many people might move or might leave the country or change their mind. So they will call in numerical order. Wait lists are maintained by schools, so calling a student assignment office isn't going to help because that's not something we oversee. The schools might have a historical background on how many people in the past got called from the wait list. What I can tell you, the smaller the number, like if it's between 1 and 10, you've got much better chances as if you were 281. So the lower the value, the better chance that you have. Schools would be better able to answer historically how far down that wait list they get.
When will I know if I have a response from the schools I applied to?
So when you sign in for the acceptance period between February 7th and the 18th, you're going to see if you got any offers. So if you think of that results screen that we showed you, there's a column that says invitations. If you see a checkbox in any of those columns, that's the program that you're getting invited for. If you're on a wait list and you don't accept any program, so you're on the wait list going into March, and the school will reach out when a seat becomes available. So if you're like 200 something, you don't need to keep calling the school every week, because when a seat opens up, they will reach out to you. You're more than welcome to call and contact and kind of see where you're going. Once that program fills, they're not going to keep filling that. Once the seats are filled, it's basically only if a seat opens up. So you can call on occasion, but the school will reach out to you and make that invitation after the acceptance period if you're on the wait list.
If my daughter was on the wait list last year, will she be put into a different wait list spot this year?
So all wait lists dissolve. If it's 8th grade through 12th grade, those will go away on the 11th day of the second semester, which is usually the second week in January. And calls from kindergarten through 7th grade can be made up till March 1st. So there's still people this year who might get an offer or an invitation for the current school year with that. So if you remain on the wait list or weren't received an offer, you would stay on the wait list. You might get called over the summer, you might get called in the fall. Depending on your grade level, you can go to 11th to mid-January or March 1st for getting an offer. And then the wait list will go away. So if you're on a wait list for this school year and you did not apply and you don't get an offer, you're going to need to apply during that late application period.
If my child is waitlisted for his first choice, but is accepted to his second choice, would it be better to accept nothing and stay on the wait list, or should he take his second choice?
It depends on how bad you want that first choice and what your number is. Honestly, if you were over 100, it's a very small chance that you're going to get an offer. So I think it's a matter of how bad you want that number one and what your wait list number is. If you have a very large value, and sometimes we have programs that over like 800 people applied for, and if you're like 300 something, I don't want to say there's not a chance, but it's going to be a very small chance that you do get an offer from that wait list. So I think it's taking a side of what is that initial wait list number, and then looking at how much do you really want that number one program. If you do not accept that number two program, what's going to happen is it goes away. So once you decline an offer, it'll take that off. It's not like you automatically go onto that wait list. So if you do not respond and you decide, you know what, maybe I do want that number two, you can go in during the late application period and you can apply for that number two program again. What I will say is during the late application period, and this is something to be careful for, if you do stay on some of those wait lists, when you go in for the late application period, it's going to have you with new choices. Do not change the number of any of your initial choices. What that will do is the system will read it as a brand new application and you will go to the bottom of the wait list. So do not change those numbers of the program. So like maybe you got number 17 on a wait list and you decide you wanted to apply for a different program and you reapply or click that you apply for the same program thinking if I put it as my number one choice, maybe I'll have a better chance. It's going to recognize that as a new application and put you at the bottom of the wait list. So if you go into the late application period, make sure you're not touching or using the same number as that initial application.
Will all offers be made by the beginning of the acceptance period, or can they come in the middle of the acceptance period?
So there are two programs that are still screening students. So if you applied for the Center of Literacy Innovation, and one of those programs is at Elisa Nelson Elementary School, and the other one is at Midtown Academy, they're going to be reaching out directly once that screening process has finished. All the other programs will have offers during that initial acceptance period. So other than the Centers for Literacy Innovation, you will see if you got an offer during that acceptance period of February 7th through the 18th.
That was our last question.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us. If you do have any questions, you can easily email student assignment, or DAP is a little bit shorter. So DAP@pcsb.org, or student assignment, no space between the two words, at pcsb.org. Or give us a call at 727-588-6210, and we'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have for the acceptance period. Once again, thanks for joining us.